gbé kúrò. Fọkànbára láìlú Peace Television tó kọ́ ni lọ́gbọ́n ìròyìn tó pé síbẹ̀. Ilẹ̀ tàdé orin àríyá lóríṣiríṣi. Spọ́tì eré ìdárayá kọ́ṣọ́ àṣà ìbílẹ̀ wa. Wá polówó ọjà kájébù gba ẹja. Ìyẹ́kùn òyọ́ ló ní kẹjẹ kájọ máa gbọ́. Ilé akárí la wà lọ́ngà kálá expressway. Oyọlé extension nìbàdàn la wà. Peace Television jọ̀wọ́ máa gbé kúrò. Peace Online TV jọ̀wọ́ máa gbé kúrò. Peace Online rédíò jọ̀wọ́ máa gbé kúrò.
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the world over. This is Peace Radio Ibadan. We're on to you on our live transmission, Peace Radio Live, on our Twitter handle, on our Facebook, and on our Instagram. You're welcome this morning, the 1st of July 2020, and the first Wednesday of the month. You're all welcome. Congratulations for scaling through the first 6 months of 2020. My name is Qudirat Hakeem Apanpa. This is Frank Talk. This morning, I have with me Dr. Dhikirulah Yagboyaju of the University of Ibadan, Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Yes, he's here with me live to discuss about the late governor of Oyo State, Governor Isaac Abiola Ajimobi, who died last week and has been buried. And we're talking about the late governor, the late former governor of Oyo State, based on some of the things he did when he was alive, and some of the things we thought he should have done, and some of the things that we can learn from, his antecedents and his legacies. Dr. Dhikirulah Yagboyaju will be talking directly to me on some of the things he knows about the late former governor of Oyo State, Senator Isaac Abiola Ajimobi. Yes, good morning, sir.
Thank you so very much. Good morning. Good morning, listeners.
Yes, sir. Yes, Dr. Dhikirulah Yagboyaju, I want you to talk to me frankly about the things you know and about the life of late Senator Isaac Abiola Ajimobi, the former governor of Oyo State.
Thank you so very much. Let me first lay some premise. One, I may not be able to talk so much about Governor Abiola Ajimobi as an individual or as a private person, because I never had the opportunity to relate with him privately, other than the fact that he attended a secondary school which I could have also attended. Then you apply to secondary schools and as on individual basis, and Lagelu Grammar School happened to be one of those schools for which I sat for the entrance examination. I was invited for the interview, and finally I succeeded, but I decided to go elsewhere to have my secondary school in Nede. So maybe if I had attended Lagelu Grammar School, that would have been the first point of contact and reference as old boys. But I can speak to the best of my ability on his activities as a public personality. First, as a senator, and secondly, as a two-term governor of Oyo State, where I reside. I've practically lived all my life in Ibadan, Oyo State, although by origin we are from Osun State, but to a large extent, I can say I can lay claim I've lived here for over 5 decades. So that's that. I would also like to lay another premise, and that's the framework from which I'm going to look at the activities of the former governor of Oyo State, Senator Isaac Abiola Ajimobi. The two-pronged premise will be governance. Again, maybe I should quickly say this. Governor Isaac Abiola Ajimobi did not work all alone. He led a team.
Yes.
So from time to time, most of the things that I will comment on will be in view of his activities as a team leader. He led an administration.
Yes.
So, and essentially we'll be looking at all that I will have to comment on in terms of political governance of Oyo State. Governance will be looked at from two main perspectives.
Okay, sir.
Governance in terms of being responsible,
Okay.
and governance in terms of being responsive.
Yes.
In terms of being responsible, governance will involve the concrete deliverables, developmental goals, developmental aspirations, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, governance, in terms of being responsive, will be anchored on the premise of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So maybe we should start off with governance in terms of being responsible.
Okay. Looking at some of the things Governor Ajimobi did as a governor then, what are the things or your view about his mode of leadership as the governor of Oyo State then?
I would like to start from, so many people have said so many things about him, being frank, and I've always said that a good leader sometime may need to step on toes.
Exactly.
A good leader is not involved in a beauty competition. Is not expecting people to clap for him or her at any party always. Meaning that there are occasions when a leader will need to take some decisions that may be harsh at the beginning, but ultimately will produce results that will be very beneficial to the generality of the citizens. So I would like to start by looking at the return of normalcy in terms of security of lives and property. Prior to 2011, when he came in as governor, Oyo State was notorious for its characteristic of brigandage, lawlessness, thuggery, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, prior to 2011, Oyo State was one of the flagship or flagged areas, red spots in Nigeria, when election was to be conducted, particularly general elections. When general elections were to be conducted, Oyo State featured prominently as one of those states where trouble was always expected. That was prior to 2011.
Yes.
And I remember very vividly that I came in 2011 to restore hope, normalcy, and sanity in terms of security of lives and property.
And aside from the security aspects, what are the other aspects you think he has?
Yeah, quickly, I must say that we must emphasize the security aspect, because without security, every other thing is meaningless.
Yes.
So that was the plank. In addition to that, it is very clear. I don't know, maybe I could go personal. Take, for example, where I left this morning coming to this radio studio. I booked 30 minutes because of what I used to experience between Malete, Challenge, and this area. but I eventually made it within 14 minutes. I was shocked. I was shocked. So, to a large extent, there is the urban renewal and infrastructural development that is so visible for everybody to see. I must state this very clearly, that I'm not in any way a praise singer. I teach political science. I criticize whenever there is need to criticize. I commend whenever there is a need to commend. Our government will do well when we criticize, when we need to do that, and when we commend, when they have done well. So in addition to urban renewal, that urban renewal and infrastructural development has a lot of advantages coming with it, a lot of benefits, because it means that the state, particularly the capital city, has been opened up, and that will attract investors. Investors want to go to areas where they can easily recoup their investment, where they can easily make profits on their investment. And that led, to a large extent, to a number of businesses, new businesses that sprung up between 2011 and 2019 in Ibadan in particular, and in other areas of the state. In addition to that, I must also say that sanitation. Before 2011, Ibadan was at a particular point in time assessed and ranked as the dirtiest in Nigeria. Dirtiest among the capital cities in Nigeria at the point in time. From 2011, we saw a purposeful evacuation of waste generated by the populace. I can remember very vividly that the administration popularized the dumping of waste on the median, road median, where evacuators will evacuate the waste. The administration also introduced the weekly sanitation exercise. The administration also emphasized and discouraged people from dumping waste into drainages. And that, to a large extent, reduced flooding. In the first year of Ajimobi's administration, 2011, Ibadan recorded a very, very devastating flooding in so many areas of the city. I think either July or August of 2011.
August 2011.
It was a devastating flooding. And thereafter, a number of things were put in place, including discouraging people from dumping refuse into rivers and streams and drainages and so on and so forth. The drains were cleared from time to time. Whoever knows the history of Ibadan very well, particularly the Ogunpa flooding of the late 70s and the early 80s, will give some kudos to that administration in terms of discouragement of people from dumping refuse into running streams, rivers, and drains. In addition to that, I think there were also positive developments and positive points to note in the area of inter-ethnic relationships and inter-religious relationships. Prior to 2011, there were so many instances, particularly in marketplaces, Shasha, Bodija, and a number of other places, where there were inter-ethnic clashes, inter-religious clashes. Between 2011 and 2019, so much of those were not recorded compared to what happened prior to 2011. We must also recall that in many of our garages, motor parks, and so on and so forth. The activities of road transport workers. I don't want to mention any of the unions now, but transport unions had skirmishes, particularly during succession when elections were conducted to elect their new officers. There's this term that they normally use, taking over. Taking over of garages and taking over of car parks. Few of that was recorded between 2011 and 2019, and I think we must give all of this to the administration of Abiola Ajimobi. And finally, I think the current administration in the state, shortly after the passing away of Governor Abiola Ajimobi, the current governor, His Excellency Seyi Makinde, said in very clear terms that the current administration is building on the foundation laid by his predecessor. So,
yes, that's the aspect I want us to talk about now, because before now, it is believed that governance is a continuous exercise.
Sure.
But in most cases, we saw a lot of abandoned projects from the previous administrations. Even talking of the road we're on now, they used to call it Akala Express because it was opened by Akala. It was not completed by Akala because he believed he was coming for the second time, but unfortunately it did not come. And when Ajimobi eventually came for 8 years, if you look critically at the road now, nothing has been done to the road. No renovation, no rehabilitation, no nothing. And gradually the road is facing off. So what can you say about this if we were talking of development?
Thank you so very much. I think that's a minus for different levels of government in Nigeria. If you would permit me, I would say state governments state governments in general have a lot to learn from the current federal administration. Say whatever you like about President Muhammadu Buhari, you cannot take away the fact that he has ensured the completion of so many projects, so many ongoing projects. And that's an aspect of governance that we don't really appreciate in Nigeria. Governance is a continuum. So whoever comes as a successor must ensure that, because your predecessor did not start projects as a project for his own family, started the project for the government and the good people of a particular state. To a large extent, the Ajimobi administration started a number of new projects without focusing attention on some projects that were started by the previous administration. And I can list a number of that. You have mentioned this Akala Road. There is another Akala Road around Akobo. There are hospitals all over the states that were started by the previous government. Even if the ideas were badly conceived, because we must get that right. Okay. A predecessor may conceive ideas badly. If the ideas or policies were badly conceived, the successor can amend such policies, can amend such ideas for continuation, so that projects are not abandoned unnecessarily. And I think the current administration in Oyo State also has a lot to learn from that. Wherever foundations have been laid for projects, such policies can be reviewed, even if they were badly conceived.
Yes, we'll go on a short break now. We'll be back shortly.
Ayé ló di bá mi, la fi ń sọ páyé di bá mi. Àjò sì dùn lọ o, ṣùgbọ́n bá a bá rẹ́ni eré báràjò ni o. Ẹ̀gbọ́n ẹ fẹ́ rájò, àbẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ lọ ṣiṣẹ́ lájò, bó sì jẹ́ iṣẹ́ olóore hajj tàbí umrah. Mo rí ilé iṣẹ́ yìí o, mo sì lè fọwọ́ ẹ̀ sọ̀yà.
Manlad Travels and Tours Limited là ń pè rí. Àwọn ni wọ́n bá ní wáṣẹ́ lókè òkun láwọn ìlú bíi Dubai, South Africa, Kuwait àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Bákan náà bẹ́ẹ̀ bá fẹ́ lọ ṣiṣẹ́ hajj tàbí umrah, Manlad Travels and Tours Limited ní ẹ tọ̀ lọ. Ọmọ aníbìnrin ò ní ṣìwàwù. Wọ́n ń ta tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì fún ibikíbi tẹ́ ẹ bá fẹ́ lọ lágbàáyé. ẹgbẹ̀rún 5 náírà lówó fọ́ọ̀mù wọn. ẹ̀rí àwọn tó ti bá wọn dòwò pọ̀ ń bẹ nílẹ̀ jàǹtìrẹrẹ. Number 5 Main Road Aduni Shopping Arcade Iriakari Estate Olúyọ̀lé Extension Ìbàdàn lọ́fíìsì wọn wà. ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ wọn ni 0805 752 2230 tàbí 0809 961 0439. Manlad Travels and Tours Limited. ààyè ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ fún ìrìn àjò.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Yes, I've been speaking with Dr. Dhikirulah Yagboyaju of the University of Ibadan, and we've been talking on the late former governor of Oyo State, Senator Governor Isiaq Abiola Ajimobi. Yes, sir. Talking about his responsiveness to governance. What are some of the things you think he has done perfectly well, you know, to help others to look into and how not to, you know, have problems with facing the reality when you're talking about what he has done?
Thank you so very much. Being responsive it's an area where so many people in the public sector in Nigeria can easily fail because there is a thin line between being kind, being too generous, and being firm that can easily be misinterpreted as wicked.
Yes.
Being responsive, I think we must give it to Governor Isiaq Abiola Ajimobi that what Governor Rashidi Ladoja did for the first time in the history of the Fourth Republic in Oyo State, paying the 13th month's salary to public servants in Oyo State or civil servants in Oyo State. He repeated that, and I think he repeated that. He did that in about 2 or 3 times. I cannot say precisely now. I'm not a public sector worker in Oyo State. I'm a public sector worker under the federal government. But I can remember that at the very worst, he was also able to do that at least once, if not more than that, maybe twice, maybe thrice. That was something that Governor Rashidi Ladoja did in the past by paying the 13th month salary. He was able to do that, and he was also able to pay salaries promptly until the until recession set in and the state government started owing workers. I must say that paying the salary of your workers by a government should be the list of achievements, because that should be taken for granted. Any government that is unable to pay its staff may not be able to lay claim to that title of being a government. If you cannot pay your workers, then you don't have any business being in government. So at that setting, particularly because of the recession that the federal government encountered at the point in time. So I think that's on the positive side of his being responsive. The low sides, if you want me to talk about that, the low sides. Number one, he got easily excited whenever talking in public, such that
I think we'll be coming to that. Okay. I want us to take those as the good aspect before talking about the challenges and some of the shortcomings. Yes, talking about all the facets of education in Oyo State, talking about the primary, the secondary, the tertiary institutions. It's according to some people, it suffered a lot during the tenure of Senator Isiaq Ajimobi. In terms of the infrastructure, in terms of developing the teachers and whatnot. What can you say?
I think, and I stand to be corrected, I think during his first term, such issues did not arrive. During his first 4 years, the administration was commended for the training and retraining of public sector workers, including workers in the education sector. And to a very large extent, I think the government also supported the payment of WAEC fees for secondary school students, I think, and quite a number of other things were done along that direction. But like I said earlier on, since you said we should leave this to the challenges that the administration encountered,
Yes.
no doubt that there were low times in the education sector. But equally in the education sector was the establishment of the technical university. It has its merits. It has its advantages. If not, the current administration in Oyo State wouldn't have sustained it. The technical university is still ongoing, and I think it's part of education in Oyo State. We'll talk about the low sides later, since you said we should.
Yes, it is observed that during the second term of Governor Abiola Ajimobi, he actually did not perform much, but you know, to some people, they believe that you as a lecturer at the university in the Department of Political Science, what do you think should be done to this second term of a thing, so that maybe if we don't have the second term, maybe the people will want to perform better in their first term and believing that, okay, this is going to be my last term as the governor, so I have to do it well.
It is neither here nor there.
Okay.
People are hasty in concluding that governors don't perform well. Yeah, maybe that is true to a considerable extent, but it is equally true that if a governor or if any public officer knows that he has only one term, if he has only one term of 4 years or 5 years, there is nothing stopping him in performing in the first 2 years and reduce his level of performance in the last 2 years.
Exactly.
So a tenure will always end, whether 1 or 2. Tenures will always end. I think what we need to address is that the enforcement of laws and regulations, if any public officer for any reason fails to perform according to the oath of office that he took at the beginning of his tenure, whether 1 or 2 terms, that kind of an officer should be made to face the music effectively. Once that is guaranteed, public officers, whether they use 2 terms or 3 terms, we have had cases after leaving office were prosecuted and punished effectively. Once that is assured, once that is guaranteed, people will sit up and perform well, whether 1 term or 2 terms. For me, it's not about the term. If it's 1 term, it will not. It will perform well. If it is 2 terms, it will perform very well in the first term. It wouldn't perform well in the second term. That's because that's our preconceived notion. I think, and again, it's because laws are not effectively implemented. The regulations are not effectively used here.
Yes. Talking about Ajimobi as a team leader, to you, does it seem like a perfect person, or do you look at him as a man that will come to say, "Oh, I'll take responsibility for mistakes being done by my colleagues or the people I fix in place to work with me"?
He couldn't have been a perfect person because nobody is a perfect being.
Yes.
It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been.
Well, it can be rated high, low.
Yeah. No, nobody can be regarded as perfect. But I think I never worked with him in any team. I never worked with him. I never worked for his administration. But from looking at his administration from afar, one would want to see the relationship between the executive arm of government and the legislative arm of government during his 8 years of
office.
In that as a team. Yeah, there is the doctrine of separation of powers, no doubt about it. But there are overlaps. And for governance to be effective, the two arms must work in cordiality so that they can get the results that are expected. Turnover was also not very high. In the 8 years, he had just only 2 secretaries to government.
Yes.
First, Akeem, later Ismail Ali. That tells you that there were not too much disagreements. If you look at the relationship between himself and his deputy for 8 years, there was nothing, at least in the public.
Exactly.
There was nothing, at least in the public, that we knew pointing to any major disagreement between the two of them. That's a rare occurrence in Nigeria. The normal is that the president and his vice will play a cat and mouse game. The governor and his deputy will play a cat and mouse game. And again, for his commissioners, yeah, there was a cabinet reshuffle at a particular point in time. But I think there were so many people who worked with him in the team at different levels. So that, to a large extent, is that, yeah, there was a credit section, there was a debit section, but I think to a very large extent, the team worked together for a considerably lengthy time, meaning that they worked in harmony.
Exactly. Okay, talking about some of the achievements too, I looked at the Oyo State's health insurance scheme, which is started, though it has not been very active like he expected it to be. And I wouldn't know if this present administration is taking up that aspect to help.
I've heard about that on the radio on a couple of occasions.
Okay.
Or oil share or something.
Yes, oil
like
share.
Yes. I think it has continued.
Yes, because one of the aspects that we need to look critically into, if the environment is clean and we have a very good facilities for our health facilities, then it will help us to live healthy and stay healthy. And when we stay healthy, it will help us to develop our states the better. So sure. In your own perspective of this OISHA, is it a project that you think should continue out?
Thank you so very much. Let me start by saying that it's a common saying, it's a cliche, health is wealth. Yes. What that simply implies for me is that when you are healthy, you are productive.
Exactly.
When you are productive, you are wealthy. The probability of being wealthy, the probability of being prosperous is high when you are healthy, because you can work, you are productive, and so that's that. We cannot underestimate the effects of any health program that is well packaged. Once it is well articulated, well conceived, properly conceived, it should continue. But we should not be, for any reason, be discouraged by the initial teething problems. The National Health Insurance Scheme, for instance, in Nigeria, started on a very, very wobbly note, very wobbly foundation. But over time, it has improved. It has improved. And that's the way I look at the Oyo State Health Insurance Program, too. It started with the usual teething problems. I've heard about the Oyo State Health Insurance thing on radio severally, meaning that it is still on. And I think it's a very good program that should continue, because in modern governance, the basic assessment criteria include health and education. Health and education by international organizations, the United Nations, Mo Ibrahim Foundation, and so on and so forth. Education and health are critical factors for assessment.
When you talk of education and you talk of health, which are critical. What about the food aspect, the agric?
Oh,
you know, we have to eat to live.
No doubt, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's implied. It's implied. You are healthy when you have the right food intakes. So it's implied. Okay. It's implied. Eating healthy, having the right supplement, having the right food intakes, and so on and so forth will come together to make you healthy. So it's very important. Food security is very important.
I think aside from some of these things that we've talked about, another major aspect that bothers me about the administration of the late former governor Abiola Ajimobi is the issue of the pensioners not being paid as when due during his tenure. And this complaint was on for several years before he left his administration. So,
are we now talking about the low sides? Okay, let's quickly address that. You see, again, I'm not a pensioner. I'm not a pensioner yet. But to a large extent, you know, earlier on.
Yes.
To the best of my knowledge, I think there were arrears of pension prior to 2011. And the administration between 2011 and 2019 had to clear the arrears before paying pensioners, those who became pensioners under his own administration. And I think before 2011, part of those who retired between 2011 and 2019 had been paid, I guess. And that's why, for instance, the current administration is paying pensioners from 2013. Meaning that the immediate part administration in Oyo State paid part of the arrears that it inherited and equally paid parts of the pension. A foundation had been laid, and that will be difficult. It's like expecting the current administration in Oyo State to be able to pay pensioners from 2019 now. There is a backlog.
Exactly.
There are arrears that must be cleared before they start paying the current ones.
Yeah, we have to go on a short break now. Then when we come back, we'll come to talk about the shortcomings of the late former governor of Oyo State, Senator Isiaq Abiola Ajimobi. Please stay tuned.
Nípa kákó níná ṣáàjì pẹ̀lú péye wọ́n fi ń ṣiṣẹ́. Gbogbo ìdè mo bá yọ̀ dé fún gbogbo ayé pátá. Gbogbo ayé pátá. Nípa kákó níná ṣáàjì pẹ̀lú múra. Ọ̀gá ni wọ́n jẹ́ ìjẹ́wọ́ lọ́wọ́ péye wọ́n fi ń ṣiṣẹ́. Wọ́n fi ń ṣiṣẹ́ rárá fa iṣẹ́ àṣepé. Ó tẹ́ tó súnmọ́ra mi ni wọ́n fi ń sí. Àṣìláàtù nígbàdígbà òfin ṣeré. Best accommodation, preparation, ó ti pọ̀ jùlọ. Aládìínú man, Amada Rufai, ọmọ máa ń bàdàn lókè ààrẹ máa tẹ̀síwájú. Owó ìdè mo bá yọ̀ dé fún gbogbo ayé pátá. Bàbá ní ìmọ̀ travel and tours. Nípa kákó ní lọ ṣáàjì pẹ̀lú múra. Ọ̀gá ni wọ́n jẹ́ ìgbéró lọ́wọ́ péye náà fi ń ṣiṣẹ́.
Welcome back. I've been speaking with Dr. Dhikirulah Yagboyaju of the Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan, and we've been talking about the life and all the things done by the late former governor of Oyo State, Senator Isiaq Abiola Ajimobi. What would you like to be remembered for? What are the legacies you intend to leave behind? And what are the things you intend to do nicely? So on a final note, before we round up this program, we want to talk about the shortcomings of Senator Abiola Ajimobi. As a human being, everybody has his own shortcomings, and Senator Isiaq Abiola Ajimobi is no exception. During his tenure, he was known to be a frank talk person, a very frank person, and whenever he talks about anything, he doesn't care whose heard is God, and he will say it the way it is. But yet, some people still see him as somebody that talks too much. What is your own view about that?
Thank you so very much. I don't know whether I'm competent to talk about him as an individual in terms of his limitations, his inadequacies and shortcomings. But as a public observer, as an observer in my career as an event analyst, I would like to say that the Yoruba people will say Hakeem no matter how bright the sky is, there will be dark patches.
Exactly.
In the first instance, ours is not a society where one can always be. Again, I think there is a way to say the truth without injuring your listener. There is a way to say things even when you are saying the truth without injuring the feelings of your listener. He spoke at different points in time, and he injured the feelings of people. That's number one. Number two, I learned this from an Hausa saying. I don't know how to say it in Hausa, but the interpretation is that the warrior is never a talkative. The warrior is never a talkative. Okay. Maybe the interpretation in Yoruba would be Obekimun Kwagba. For him, as the governor, I felt that he should have spoken less. He needed not say everything at all times. He needed not be a person who will say, I must have the last say. Whether he says it last in the public or he doesn't, he had the last say at that point in time.
Exactly.
Anything that was not approved by him stands unapproved.
Exactly.
Anything that he approved at that point in time stood approved. So, to a large extent, he needed not say it all at all times. You need not say it all at all times, particularly when you are speaking in the public. It was a public figure that people were watching from time to time. And there were so many people who were watching him for his blunders, his mistakes. So for every one of us, I think that's a lesson to learn. At any particular point in time, we must watch what we say, because there are people who are listening and who are watching just to note your blunders, your mistakes. That's that.
You know, sometimes I remember I was at a function where he was like, nobody should record anything because I know you will record and start playing it to tell people that I've done this again, I've done that again. I have to be careful what I say, but at the end of the day, it's still.
Let me quickly share two personal experiences. There was a program at the government secretariat. I think this something public service lecture, and because I represented the department, I was at a vantage position, and he gave his welcome address. He spoke to a point where I beckoned to the person next to me that and this man has spoken so well. This is enough. This
to leave the stage when the ovation.
This is
to leave the stage when the ovation
is apt. Whenever he says anything beyond that, beyond this, and the man, an elderly person, I don't know him, an elderly person said, that was something that I witnessed as an individual. Number one, and that's number one. Number two, there was an occasion where the governor addressed the students of the Ladoke Akintola University.
Yes.
And he said it was the constituted authority. My dear sister, I must tell you, that was a statement of fact. It symbolized the constituted authority in Oyo State. But he needed not say it.
You don't demand respect. You command respect.
He needed not say it. He symbolized, he was the #1 person in Oyo State for crying out loud.
Exactly.
He was the #1 person.
Either we like it or not, then.
He symbolized authority in Oyo State. So he needed not to say it. He needed not to say it.
And unfortunately, he said it to the people that will respond immediately
yes,
to what he had
I
said.
think he was just unnecessarily carried away. Again, as a public figure, one needs to, from time to time, manage one's temperament, because once you say it as a public figure, you never can imagine how extensive
it will go. Yes.
So, in terms of public speeches, those are some of the low points. I must also say that maybe the final word for his administration, the fact that salaries were held at a particular point in time, and the administration couldn't assuage the feelings of the people. That was a low time. That was a low time. If salaries were held, those who were held had a right to demand.
Exactly.
They have a right
Because
to
they don't
protest.
have any other place to go.
Oh yes, yes. You don't. If a public worker does not cut corners, at the end of each month, he must expect a lot.
Exactly.
If he doesn't cut corners, so they have a right to demand. They have a right to protest. So the government, symbolized by the governor at that particular point in time, should have looked for ways to assuage the feelings of the people. Even if the salaries were not paid on time, and the government and the governor was able to assuage the feelings by expressing nice words, I think it would have been a better option.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Dhikirulah Yagboyaju. It's been nice speaking and talking with you on this program, Frank Talk. I hope you all enjoyed listening to our lecturer, and I hope next time when we invite you to our studio, you won't hesitate to come and respond to our call. Listeners, thank you very much for listening to us and being part of us. You can still join us on Peace Radio Live, on our Instagram, on our Twitter, and on our Facebook page. And you can